Right. Okay, so welcome everybody to today's Nairobi DevOps community meeting. And today we're going to be having Dennis Yegon as our speaker, taking us through Oracle Cloud. Just the introduction. Maybe you can follow him after for more. Okay, so the quote of the day is well done is better than well said. So just as we normally say, like, let your trips leave the WhatsApp group. It's the same thing. Let do it. Don't just say it. Uh, okay. So today's agenda, we're going to start up with that icebreaker. Then I'm going to talk about the community a little bit, and then now the introduction with Dennis. Then Q&A later on. Okay, for the icebreaker. So, if you had a time machine, which year would you like to travel to and why? So, I haven't really thought about it, but considering I'm a sadist, I will go to the future where I am already dead. So, anyone else with what year and why they would like to go to that year? Yes, Daniel, can you just unmute? Daniel, can you unmute? Okay.
So I had disabled the audio, but you can talk now. Go ahead.
Yes. I was even wondering. I thought it was for my end.
Sorry about that. You
So
said you'd go?
I would like to go to 2000 if there's something like that. And the reason being that I would like to see the technological advancement that we are seeing currently, which we think is mind busting. But I think they'll be kind of very, I don't know how to explain, but a bigger mind busting technology at that time, and probably that will transform the world very, very well.
So you want to see the beginning of technology. Yeah,
Yes, yes. The end of it all, probably.
that's cool. Okay, so anyone else with a year and why? All right. Okay, let's go on. About the community, let's get right into it. So for Nairobi DevOps community, this is our mission to create a supportive and inclusive community that values diversity and supports learning and growth. Uh, for our vision, we envision ourselves being the leading community in Nairobi in DevOps, and deploying and driving innovation. And sorry, beyond. Let me just read. To be a leading DevOps community in Nairobi and beyond, driving innovation and empowering professionals to excel in the career. So career basically in DevOps and anything around it like cloud, and considering we're doing at the moment. So how you can help the community, these are some of the ways you can do it. So you can help us with running workshop talks on things that you are proficient with. You can connect with professionals. You can connect us with professionals who can now be speakers in these sessions, as well as sharing ideas on how to make the community better. So we can't work without you guys. So your ideas are welcome. Sharing our posts and postings on your channels. So whenever you have the chance, when you see a poster, just shoot it to your WhatsApp status or your Insta stories, and then helping in organizing events. You can as well volunteer yourself to join the community managers and help in organizing these events, as well as joining the branding team. Okay, so this is some of the me rather links to groups that you can join. For now, WhatsApp is full, so we're going to replace that with Telegram. So at the moment, you can just follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and maybe join the Discord community. So that's it for from me, and I'd like to welcome Dennis Yegon to take over.
Okay, good evening. Let me just see on via chats how your week has been. You can just drop some messages and okay, really feels good to be your guest today. So I'll just take you through a brief of Oracle Cloud infrastructure. So I'll just share my screen in a few. Okay, I'll share my entire screen because I'll be running some. So it will be kind of a practical session. We shall first start with our theory part, then we move quickly to the practical session. So I'll just maybe the basic understanding of there are so many cloud providers, probably. Maybe you can name them on charts. Probably you have, maybe you can just name them on the four major cloud providers. I hope I'm audible enough for everyone.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, ideally by market gap, Oracle, we have Oracle, AWS, the Microsoft, and Google. Those are actually the four major cloud providers we have currently. In actually, let's say globally, the four major cloud providers. So today I'll just take you through a very brief session on Oracle Cloud infrastructure. So I hope you can all see my screen. Introduction to OCI. Let me put it in a. You can all see my screen, eh?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So Oracle Cloud is a cloud computing service provider offered by Oracle Corporation, providing server, storage, network application, and services through a global network of Oracle Corporation managed data centers. The company allows these services to be provisioned on demand over the internet. So we have some of the core components of the OCI, and I believe these are some of the core components of every cloud provider. We have the compute services, that's the VMs, the bare metal, and the containers. These are the VMs, that's where you will run your workloads, the bare metal, then those are just the compute services. We also have the storage solutions. We have the block storage, the object storage, and the file storage. So these are some of the major three storage solutions we have. We also have networking. We have virtual cloud networks. We have load balancers, just to mention but a few. And let's see on some of the unique features of OCI. Definitely, there are so many cloud providers currently, even locally in our country. But now some of the unique features, particularly to Oracle, we have the high performance and scalability. We have the integrated security features. Actually, Oracle was just built particularly they really have very advanced security features. You have Oracle's autonomous services, the autonomous databases, and the Exadata databases. And the architecture, just a very brief architecture of the design of Oracle Cloud infrastructure, the regions and the availability domains. We also have the edge services and the fast connect. And I think our last use cases and success stories of Oracle Cloud infrastructure, the real world examples of OCI deployments. We also have the case studies highlighting performance and cost savings, because we shall see Oracle have a cost calculator where you can always calculate the cost you will incur when running your environment. We shall also have on a practical, you shall also see a comparative analysis. Let's say Oracle versus other cloud providers like AWS, Microsoft, and Google. We also see the performance benchmarks and their pricing. So I'll now just getting started setting up an OCI account, because I said this will be kind of a very brief practical session. It's you can later create your own free account, OCI account, and you can start running VMs on it. So setting up an OCI account, the key considerations for migration to OCI, you can have your workloads on your on-premise, and at times you might want to, let's say, move your infrastructure to the cloud. How can you move that to the Oracle, to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure? You can also see the resources for learning and the certifications. I can give you the links for that. And now the future of OCI, how upcoming features and services. You can see currently the cloud space is quite very competitive. So you can see, you'll see how Oracle is really keeping up that pace. And Oracle's vision for cloud computing. And of course, we shall finalize with our QA session. I'll respond to queries which will be within my reach. So I'll take you, let me just use a different browser. So one of the objectives of this session, we shall create a virtual machine on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and we shall create a Kubernetes cluster also on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. I'll try to be as fast as possible because it's a bit wide. So when you just log in to Oracle Cloud, just on your browser, any browser, and you'll just see all cloud infrastructure by Oracle. So when you click on the link, it will take you through a series of it's just still loading. This is the first landing page. So visit Oracle Kenya, and I'll just stay here. So the Oracle have a very strict, when signing up for the first time to the account, they are quite very strict, especially when it comes to security. So you can try OCI for free. You can, this just for test environment. If you want to, like, if you're not sure about the service you're provisioning, you can always try a service for free and you're not being charged. So for my case, when you just click in, I'll take you through how you first set up, and I already have an account, but I'll just take you through for a first timer. So when you just log in on this Oracle Cloud, I'm on a free tier account. I'm not charged for anything. So just say start for free. If you already have an account like me, I'll just go to sign into Oracle Cloud. So I'll just say start for free. So it will continue. So when you first sign up when you're setting up your account for the first time, you can have your country, like let's say you are in Kenya, you can have your country here. Yeah, you can just give it your first name. You can give it any name like a test. Give it, you can have your last name as also as test. You can give it a Gmail like test@gmail.com. So then it will give you an option to check on the validity of that account by, you can click on image. So it will be this. So click on next, the same thing. Then you click on verify. So since I'm not using the right email, so you have to verify my email. So they will send a link to this test@gmail.com. When you click at verify my email, you'll get a verification code on your email. So then you click on the verification code. After clicking on the verification code, you'll get a redirect to another web page. On that web page, you just click on there are some payment details. Of course, it will charge you only, let's say, around $0.93, which is around 135 Kenyan shillings that's just for registration. But they will return the money. It's just for validation and verification. They'll just return immediately the money. So one of the things you need to consider, when creating this Gmail, Do not when adding your payment information, do not use a virtual card. Like you see the M-Pesa way, you have a virtual card. Do not use a virtual card, it will deny. Also, do not use there is cards which have expired. Oracle have really a very strict way of filtering which cards are valid and which cards are not valid. So for my case, well, when you're done with that, your account will be set up. You'll be given the details and everything. So for my case, I already have my account. I'll log into. You see, on my Oracle account, this is my test account. As you can see, you have this amount, and I'm on a trial version, free trial version. When your trial is over, your account is limited to always free resources. You can always upgrade at any time, so depending on the services you want. So one of the key things on Oracle Cloud, I've really found Oracle is quite easy and very user-friendly on my end. You can always, when you click on this icon, you can always check some of the services they offer. At the home page, you can see the compute, the storage, and the networking. So definitely these are the three primitives for any cloud computing: the compute, the storage, and the networking. You can also see your Oracle databases, analytics, and AI. Actually, Oracle have really been partnering with NVIDIA on this part of analytics and AI. Also have the developer services, this like the Kubernetes, the managed services. We have the part for identity and security. They really have very high advanced features for security. We also have a hybrid migration. A hybrid migration is like when you have your workloads, when you want to run your workloads on both the private and the public cloud. For this case, now Oracle will be the public cloud, and you have your own premise. We also have features for migration and the disaster recovery. We also have the billing and cost management, governance and administration, marketplace, and OCI classic services. These are just some of the basic services you will get on a normal account. When you log into an Oracle account, these are some of the features you will see. So for my case, I will want to maybe deploy one virtual machine so that you can see how it's done on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Also, just to mention something, you can see here on the region, I'm actually on the region, South African region, Joburg region, particularly Joburg in South Africa. So when you click on this place, you always have to find a place where there will be very minimal latencies. So for my case, I'll show you the region. There is South Africa, there's Australia. In Australia, they actually have two regions. That's in the East, Sydney and Melbourne. Also have Brazil and these other areas. So there are actually many. You can always move to the region which is quite near you. So also, if you want to see some of the these are what we call the infrastructure regions. So in France, Germany, India, Israel. And if you've been keen enough, recently the government announced that, Oracle had recently announced that they are creating a region in Kenya. So if you want to see, you can always go to the platform services and regions. So if we go to this tab, okay, it's just the same tab. So you can see here when you click on this link for a complete list of services available by region. You can see data regions for platform and infrastructure services. See, okay, on this tab, you can see what Oracle are really doing on the public cloud. You can see services available in all cloud regions. So some regions do not have some specific services. So Oracle Cloud Infrastructure has all the services you need to migrate, build, and run all your IT, just from your existing enterprise workloads to new cloud native applications. So currently Oracle has the highest, I don't think there is any other public provider which has the highest number of cloud regions than Oracle. So if you can check on this just to compare the services. So there's a comparison between cloud services where you need them. So like I said, there are some regions we do not have some services. So this depends now if the users there or they have clients there. That's where, so OCI services are consistent across 45 regions. And you can see their cloud regions. You can see simple and competitive pricing. They're actually the cheapest compared to AWS, Google. And you can see also more familiar with AWS or Azure. You can compare the services also here on this page. You can see some of the services they offer on some of the regions. Like there's some infrastructure like roving edge. You can always just find these services on some specific regions like North America. The North America part has actually literally all the services, and same to Europe. Middle East and Africa, you only have Joburg, and yeah, they only have this interconnect to Microsoft in Joburg, and also they have the database service for Microsoft at Joburg. Now in Asia side, you can see there are some services which are missing in some regions. So you can also see some of the services like emerging services. I think these are the new services they want to bring to some other regions. So to see some of the regions, they recently announced a cloud region. Actually, it's called a POP. A POP is just a point of presence. So see our cloud regions. If you click on their cloud regions, you can see all the globally, these are current regions, as you can see. Then there are regions, their current regions, then regions coming soon, then Asia interconnect. So Oracle and Asia, I think they interwork together. So they have some services like you can have a service on Microsoft and still run on Oracle. Or you have a service on Oracle and still run on Microsoft, like databases. So when you just particularly Middle East and Africa, you can see the current regions. They actually have a current region in Joburg. This one you can see is from the map, and we have here at Nairobi. Nairobi is a map as a region coming soon. So probably in the course of the year or early next year, maybe we shall have an Oracle region in Kenya. So why am I saying it? The importance of having a local region is to we can have at times you see latencies on your network when you're accessing an application and it's quite lag. There is that lag. Also, number two is the policies. Maybe banks do not allow having their data outside the country. So having a local region also helps resolve that issue. So a region is coming soon in Kenya. You also see this is part of Asia. So we also have regions having the hybrid cloud. So these are just some of the services they have on their portfolio. So it's really quite very, very rich in terms of they really have very, very many services they're offering currently. So actually, Oracle was a late comer in the cloud space, but it's really coming. It's currently now some of the top 4 cloud companies. So you need to understand having the importance of having a cloud region locally. So at least it will minimize the latencies. Because ideally, when we create a VM here, the nearest region I can access is South African region. So if I go to infrastructure regions, I'm subscribed to South Africa. So I can always search I want to create an instance. So in AWS, it can be a compute or EC2 instance. So it's just a name, but you only know they're all VMs. So I'll just create a very simple box so that you can whenever you're always stuck. One thing I really admire with Oracle is the documentation. They really have a very rich, if you go to docs.oracle.com, you can always find a way out even if you do not know what you're doing. So it has to be docs. So assuming I do not know how to provision a VM, so you just come and create here, say an instance. You just want to go to provision an instance. So you can always go to instances, container instances, or let's say you want a virtual machine. You can always check here. think it depends on what you are searching. Let's say instance. I think that's what the name they call. If you go to container instances, for example, because there are so many instances, it can always give you a way out of how to resolve an issue. Maybe an overview. If you're trying to find out or you are stuck somewhere, so they'll always find. You'll always find all the documentation here. That's one thing I really love with Oracle. So you do not have to struggle so much. They have everything on their docs.oracle.com. So when I go to instance is a kind of a VM. So I just go to instance, or if you are on this side, you can go to a compute. But you just on the compute part, you can see instances. See, it's wide. On the compute, you can see instances. We have dedicated VMs, instance pools. Also have cluster networks, compute clusters. There are really very, very many. And you really need to know how each and every one is used. So you just create an instance here. Let's give it a name as DevOps community. Let's call it Nairobi DevOps community. So one of the things you need to do when creating a VM in Oracle, you always have to create a VM on a compartment. So a compartment is where you're trying to separate or have your resources in one place. So by default, there is always this user, the root user. The root user now is the person who is owning the account. You can create more than one compartment. Let's say I will create a new compartment. You can always just search on a compartment and create. This way now all your resources will be placed. So you can just create another compartment. Let's say Nairobi DevOps, like that. Just give the same name. It's not compulsory of the description, have it that. So the parent compartment, it has to be your root, the user, the account owner. The parent compartment is created by default. Then you can say create compartment. So give it a few. If you refresh it, yeah, so it's already, if I get into the compartment, I can see the details. So it's a root compartment, but the parent compartment is the root, the OCID. This is just a tag given to any Oracle VM or any resource you create on Oracle is given this OCID. And you can also create child compartments under that compartment. So it's just for separating resources. So when you're creating a VM, just come to instances. So I create an instance. Let's say it has given me a default name. Let's say Nairobi DevOps. That's the name. And now you have to, let's say VM. On which compartment, you have to choose the compartment you want to have your resource. You can say at the Nairobi DevOps, the one we just created. Now, when it comes to placement, when you click on edit here and you check on advanced options, so you can have so many options here. So we are actually on AD1. AD1 is actually, let's say a data center. It's a kind of a data center, and this is always free and eligible. If I was on this a test or a free trial, if I was on a more, let's say, corporate uh, account, it could have given me more options. But now, because I'm on a trial, I'm just limited to this availability domain. So availability domain is just like a data center somewhere. So we are actually on this data center in Joburg. This where our VM will be. So you can always, the capacity type, there's so many capacity types. You can always read on this. The good thing with the Oracle, you can always click on the hyperlink. On this link, you can check it can give you what each instance does, how, why. So at times you are spoiled for choices now to choose which one is the best. But for our case, we shall just go with the default. Then I will say hide advanced. The security features. You can have your what's a shielded instance. The shielded instance, it hardened the firmware security on the bare metal host and virtual machines. So this is just a security feature to maybe it's just on security purpose. It's just meant there for security of the operating systems, or yeah, to defend against malicious boot level software. But we don't need that for now because this is just a test. You can always choose any image. By default, it will always bring you Oracle Linux 8. So you can always change the image to another image. There's so many images. You can also bring your own image. Oracle supports custom-made images. You can let's go with the Ubuntu for now. Then you can always, there are so many versions of Ubuntu, canonical 18 up to 22. So you can always choose which one you want. You can always go with any, which suits your environment or your need at that particular time. You can also go for the image build. You can always check on what to do with a particular version and the image. So you can always come and check here. But for now, I'll just leave it as a default. Yeah, so after checking this, I will just click on select image. So it has picked a Canoni Ubuntu 18, the one I chose. And in summary, you can see on this other window, you can see the summary, the shape. Yeah, no, I'm not being charged for anything for having this shape, but now I will be charged for the boot volume at this rate a month. They are very, very cheap. So you can, on the shape now, by default, the Oracle has so many shapes on their infrastructure. So you can always choose, you have the AMD, you can have AMD, Intel, Ampere, and some other, anything you might want, the processor. So by default, I'm leaving as vm.standard.e2. The VNIC information, this is a virtual network interface card. So this is just for communication. It's automatically, so the private IPv4 address is automatically assigned on creation. So you can as well edit the VNIC information. You can give it a name, primary network, or you can create a new virtual cloud network. So by default, I'm just leaving it as it is. Sorry, I think I canceled the whole thing. Okay, I'll just in the compartment, Nairobi DevOps. Yeah, we were on the VNIC information, SSH key. By default, you do not just access your VM on Oracle infrastructure via SSH, normal SSH. It doesn't work like that. There are so many ways of accessing your VMs on, like always, you have to go back to your docs if you're not sure about what you're doing. Just make sure you use you have to paste your public keys. Oracle are very strict with their security features. You just have to paste it. They use the SSH key pairs. That's what I've been using, and it's quite really flexible. So if you are on Windows, you can always go to Windows PowerShell, generate an SSH private, public, and private key pair, and that you upload to, and then you come and on the public key you come and paste it here. So for my case, I already had my own public key, so I'll just come here, copy, and I'll come and paste it here. So this is my public key. Private key is just always personal to you. Do not share private keys. You paste the public keys on the server here. So after that, in fact, you can have multiple keys, like adding another key. But for now, we do not need to just use one key. So the boot volume, this is now the data disk. So you can specify a custom boot volume, use in transit encryption, and encrypt this volume. So by default, you need to, so these are some of the features, the security features you'll have on your volume disk. By default, they use iSCSI. Oracle uses iSCSI when accessing the block volumes. So you can attach a block volume like this. So, but for our case, we do not we do not none available in this compartment. So we can change our compartment. We have to work on our compartment. Nairobi DevOps, this was our compartment. We can create a new volume. So we can give it a Nairobi DevOps volume, create in which the compartment. So the volume, boot volume and the VM should always, the block volume and the boot volume should always be in the same compartment. So by default it's 1024, but we're going to with custom. So you want a storage of, let's say you have been, it has to be a figure between 50 and 32,700. These are very huge storage. So you can give it, we need a storage of 60 GB. So by default, it will create you a virtual VPUs and the input of 3000. These are just default for Oracle. And the throughput is, these are quite very good speeds when accessing your block storage, because ideally your data will always be on the block storage. So you do not need to encrypt, but these are just some security features you can always add. So the read write, the access type, you can have read write, read only. So if you are sharing the same block, let's say the same block volume with so many people, you can just give an admin person to as read write and others as read only. After that, we just click on attach. So it's now attaching the boot volume, and the attachment type is via iSCSI. And the access mode is read and write. Yeah, so we already created our VM, the storage, and we now click on create. So while it's on the status here is still orange or something, I'm not sure of that color, but it's on provisioning state. You can check on the general information. It's on availability domain 1. And the fault domain, we have availability domain is like a data center. And the fault domain are now the partitions on the data center. Like you can have so many racks on the data center. So probably this is FD3. It's a label just on Joburg DC. So the region is actually on Joburg. The launch, the OCID, each and every resource you create on Oracle has an OCID. You have on a compartment, the capacity is on demand, the instance details. There's quite a lot of information you can always see from this. We have already been assigned a public IP address while it's still provisioning. So we have to be very keen with the username. So by default, we shall have to use this username as OPC and accessing this VM. Yeah, it's now done and it's running. So to connect to a running Linux instance using a SSH, you'll need the private key from the SSH key pair. So I want you to see, because this one is in South Africa, you can always see the latencies. You can see okay, currently we are unable to ping because I'll tell you the reason later. You cannot ping that IP. So when it's running, we can now access this VM. Because I already have my SSH key pairs. You can get access to this VM. Let me on the instance details. If I go to the cluster on the instance details, you can always see the performance of this VM. So ideally, when creating a VM on Oracle, you will not be able to access or ping the VM because of the security roles. So if I come back to the instance, just go back to on the marketplace and do a search. I seem not to see the VM. No, these are the VMs on this compartment. So you need to change the compartment. So I was on the Nairobi DevOps because we just created a pool where we shall have our VM running. So you can see the status of the VM. It's on a running state. It has a public IP and a private IP, and the shape and number of CPU, the memory is 1 GB, the availability domain, the fault domain, and the when it was created. So one of the things you always find is you need to always go to the right compartment. So the root compartment should have all the information, but you can create a VM even on the root compartment. But for our case, we created particularly on this compartment called Nairobi DevOps. So to access this VM, you can see more information about this VM. The details, the general information, the shapes, and also if we scroll down, it has already pulled for us some of the data, but it will take a while because it's still pulling some data. Let's say after 5 minutes, you'll start seeing the graphs here. So after this, now you need to see the console connection of the VM. You can see, okay, our instance already currently do not have a console connection. Just hold on as I. Okay, so we need to see what's happening on the VCN, the virtual cloud network. When you create a VM on Oracle, it's normally placed on a virtual cloud network. So on the virtual cloud network, you can always see, let's say the subnet, it's a /16, and also the OCID, the DNS information, the default route table, and the DNS name. So you can as well add more. Let's say you can create more subnets. This is the test compartment. Sorry, let me. Yeah, it needed this part of the security lists. So we currently have 3 security lists. This was for some of the endpoints we had earlier created. So when you create a VM directly on Oracle Cloud, like you cannot access the VM until you change the security lists. There's some rules like which can block ICMP traffic, and that's why we are unable to ping this VM for now. So because I already have the public IP, if I go to this compartment, let me see let me just take the IP of this VM. Yeah, because I already have the public key already on this VM. I should be in a position to access this VM. So by default, the username was, when you go to this VM, we already have the the default username and password. No, the default username already, because it uses SSH keys, we do not need to use we do not have to input the password and at that IP. So ideally I should be logged in. Okay, it's timing on port 22. I need to security. Yeah, so just wanted this part for of the security list. I think one of the issues we are facing is it's on a different compartment. So we just check this. Okay, let's adding a new. So from any source /0 to port 22. Source destination is 22. You can add an ingress rule. Yeah, so I think after creating a rule to port 22 should, yeah, so it's finally working, because I think when we were creating compartments, it went to the wrong compartment. So that's why the security rules are applied on the wrong compartment. So I had to go there and add that rule. Yeah. So finally, I'm on the VM, as you can see. So if I was to see the cat, it's COS release. So you can see I'm already on my VM. It's an Oracle Linux VS server. And if I was to if I was to become user, yeah, so we are on the same VM. It's Nairobi DevOps VM. So these are very brief walkthrough on how you can deploy a VM on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So one of the key things you always need to be keen is on the security list part. And also on instances, you need to be sure of where you're creating your resource. One of the challenging things is when creating the compartments, it's quite confusing. So you always need to keep track. As you can see, I'm still unable to ping this IP, this 129. So what you need to do, it means it does not accept ICMP traffic. So by default, when you create a VM on Oracle, it only allows ICMP version 3. But now this is the same thing you have to do on the security lists. When you go to the security lists, think attach Linux, then see. So from here, there is already an existing security, but so you can as well add a new security list. So we can add from any IP on the internet of any subnet 00, I think I didn't input it well, /0. So it means any IP on the internet can ping this IP. So because ICMP traffic has do not, you can just change on the protocol. We all ICMP all protocols, but for security, for our case, we want to test ICMP traffic. So the code, you can give it a code because ICMP has different codes, 0, 3, and 5. But for us, we just give it all. So add an ingress rule. When you click, it should immediately go and yeah, it's now, we can now ping the VM. So you can see the latencies are a bit, these are the latencies. If you are to do, yeah, these are some of the latencies you see because we are going to South Africa. Our VM is in South Africa. So if we were to do a traceat to the same VM, because some applications are latency sensitive. So you can see the path all the way from where I am all the way to their cloud. Yeah, so up to our last hop here is our server 129. So these are just hops from each and every destination. You can see within here, I think this is just Kenya. Before now you move later to maybe some other parts to South Africa. We have, or we have here another route maybe from Mombasa. I'm still in Kenya, then before I move it to, I think this now is a different country. No, the provider now is Liquid until you get to your VM. Yeah, I believe now when they have a cloud region in Kenya, our latency should not go past this number, hop number 4. These are quite very low latencies. So we can, I think it will be a bit better and a better experience. Yeah, I think that's the end of it on the provisioning VM. You can also see the part of the OKE, the Kubernetes part. Oracle really have very advanced features for Kubernetes. You can create a cluster, you can run several cluster containers. So if you can just create a cluster, but it's chargeable. You can create an a cluster like you can have 3 VMs. So you can create a cluster here. So there's so many ways you can create a cluster. You can do a quick create, select the quick create or the custom create. The custom now it's now upon you to do or to choose what you want. But by default, it will give me this. The resources will include a VCN. So you can as well always use your docs. Like if you, so it will, this guide will give you how to deploy a VM, a container engine, learn about OKE, edit clusters, how to create from scratch on their environment. You can, because I don't want to be more sophisticated, I'll just click on submit. So let's say DevOps cluster. So it's on the compartment by default is Nairobi DevOps. You can choose the Kubernetes version. I think the latest they have on their platform is version 1.29.1. At the endpoint, you can choose how you, I just want to have a public IP, so I'm going for a public endpoint. So the node type, is it managed or virtual? Managed, you can see the Kubernetes worker node are provisioned compute instances in your tenancy. You are charged for the core hours those instances use. The Kubernetes worker nodes are virtual. The resources only execute. If you are paying for this service, you'll only be charged when that service is running. So you are charged for the resource used only. So I'll just go for the manage because these are tests. So worker nodes, I need private workers. So the Kubernetes worker node that I created will be hosted in a private subnet. That's the difference. The workers, they will have a public IP, but I just need, by default, I'll just go with the private IPs. You can go with the shape. The node name, maybe you want to run instances of Ubuntu, CentOS, you can always choose. You can as well customize the number of OCPUs you want for your instances. I think they are chargeable, and you can choose any image. You can just have that images Oracle Linux 8. Those are the images. So by default, you'll have a 3 node cluster. So we can have even up to, I think you can have up to 5. Because they are chargeable, it's you not to determine. So we shall have the default 3. So you can have even 1. Yeah, so let's say you can have 3. So this one will provision 3 VMs, master and 2 worker nodes. So when you click on next, so you can always check on the resources to be created. This is just an overview. The node pools, the network, and the pod communication. So you can just click. It's very simple to provision. So you can see what's happening. Create a virtual cloud network, create an internet gateway, a NAT. So these are just some of the things which are happening behind the scene. So when it's done, it's just always less than 30 seconds, even 15 seconds or 10 seconds, it's done. So it's in creating instance now. So this will normally take a while. It's currently in a creating status because it has to create 3 VMs. So the Kubernetes version is 1.291. The node pools is 1. So this was the pool which is being created, waiting for the cluster. So you can have the network information. Yeah, so it normally takes a while because it has to provision. If you want, you can always have a cluster or a tag for your cluster. So you can also check the image verification quick. So there's so many things also on the left part. So you have to always be on the lookout on. You can see the metrics, but it's still there are no metrics currently because it's still being provisioned. So while it's being provisioned, just an overview of the services. There are so many things. If you go to billing and cost management, you can always see how much you're using. Migration and disaster recovery, you can always see how you can connect you can do a DR migration to the cloud. Hybrid. So if you're good in VMware, this is how you can deploy Oracle with VMware. It's kind of a software-defined data center. Also have observability and management. You can see some of the things you will use to manage or to see the performance of your applications. You can even create custom emails, alerts. You can also see the DNS information. I think it's on the network. This on the identity and security. If you're not sure, you can just search like the DNS. I think AWS have like Route 53. Oracle also have theirs. You can check on the zones. You can manage your DNS zones directly here. You can see on the zones. You can create both the public and private zones. Traffic management, you can do that here. Private views. So they also have, you can also check on the Azure part. It's not really Azure, but interconnect. Yeah, they use okay, the service is kind of fast connect, but for Azure, it's kind of interconnect. Yeah. So you can run a service on Oracle and also on Azure, like they are just on the same place. I think they currently have a MySQL Heatwave. Yeah, they currently have a MySQL Heatwave. These are DB service. I think it's on AWS, so you can access services. They're trying to do. I think these are some of the emerging technologies on where cloud providers can seamlessly exchange information or resources. Like probably you might want a service on Oracle and another service on AWS, but now you're limited to one because you feel like there will be no seamless communication. So currently they have come up with that setup, like it's kind of a multi-cloud. So MySQL HeatWave is, I think it's an AWS service, but Oracle and Azure they fully work together. You can have a resource fully on Azure and have another on Oracle, and they interwork together. So I think on the regions, like I said, currently there are some regions. We're currently on the South African region. Yeah, and maybe you can do a compare services and on their portal. Maybe compare OCI with AWS, Azure, and Google. I think these are the top 4 providers currently we have. So if we start with AWS on their, you can always check deploy the same public on. You can see there on the check marks that does your cloud provider offer the exact same services in your data center as their public. You can see this one does and this one does not. I think it's just a comparison thing. So you can see Oracle in Asia, although they closely work together. You see OCI over Microsoft. There are just very limited differences. They all offer almost the same services. And the Google Cloud, you can always see what they have. Maybe when making your decision on which cloud provider to choose, you can always see on their differences here. You can always download this PDF and see. So native, bare metal. So if this on a trial, this you can see the features, and I'm just on trial. The advanced, maybe the commercial one is quite. It has more advanced features. So when you go back to our cluster, I hope it has finished. So Kubernetes cluster. Okay, still creating. So the cluster status is okay, still taking some time. So always when you're stuck somewhere, you can always find the documentation for Oracle and creating any, or when deploying anything, they have really very rich documentation on the internet. Oh, the cluster is now active. So it has changed color. You can always see that color is and status is active. So you can see your cluster, edit. So these are cluster containing 3 virtual machines. You can see the node pools. We only have one node pool. You can see this when you access the node pool 1. It's okay, there's still node pool status is still creating. Okay, still creating. We can see, let me see if we can see the metrics. Okay, no data for now. We just go back to the cluster. So I think when you already have this cluster, DevOps cluster, we can always access the cluster. So you can just access directly from the Cloud Shell, or I forgot, Oracle have a Linux-based shell with very minimalistic features. So you can just say, I can, to launch, you just have to use a kube config file. So you can always copy this. Just so to access the kube config file for your cluster via the VCN native public endpoint, copy the following command. So I'll just copy this on my, and then click on launch Cloud Shell. Then I can click on close. So the Cloud Shell it's just giving you some of the basic features it's Linux based for basic features. So one of the things to see when deploying a VM is the distance. You need to see the latencies. So yeah, the Cloud Shell says welcome to Oracle Cloud Shell. The ARM-based 64 architect is now available for your Cloud Shell session in some regions, meaning it's not in all the regions. So paid users have the option to choose the VM architecture for their session. So for this, I will just copy paste the command I copied. So this just for creating or bringing up the cluster. So this command will bring up my 3-node cluster. So when I just press endpoint, yeah, you can see existing kube config file found at home already have and a new config merged into it. So if I see ls, okay, this is just for SSH keys. So if I say kubectl get nodes, I want to see the status of the 3 nodes because I've already accessed the cluster. Yeah. Okay, status is not ready. You can just say get node. So we can see it's still trying to come up, but after a while they will be up. So you can see the 3 nodes. This one is 10, 0, 10, 144, 10, 0, 10 to 17, and 10, 0, 96. So then still not ready. That's this when you can do your test. You can, yeah, you can see to 17 is now ready. Is ready and it's now working on 10, 0. 10, 0, 144 is still not ready. So there's still probably, we just wanted to see what's happening. So you can see two are already ready, is 10, 0, 10, 144 and 10, 0 to 17 are ready. So the 96 is still not yet ready. So actually two nodes are ready, 144 and 217. Yeah, 96 is now ready. So when you say kubectl get nodes, all the nodes should be ready now. Yeah, they're all in the ready state. If you see kubectl get pods, we're now trying to get pods in all the namespaces. You can see all the pods are running. So all of them are in a running state. So this is just a very simple way. You can also see the deployments and the replica sets in all namespaces. Yeah, and then you can see here. You can as well see the yeah, I think these are just, I think our cluster is now ready. You can always access any cluster and do any configuration you want, but I think it's chargeable depending on the number of nodes. I think it's not a free service, I think. So yeah, I think that's the end of it. We can as well see if I exit the shell. At times you might have a container instance, maybe you can always also run your containers directly. You can create a container instance here, give it a name, but not this quite because I do not have a container myself or somewhere. So you can always do that container, create a container here and deploy it on Oracle Cloud. So I cannot go to the next place until I do the basic stuff. Yeah, I think because this is quite chargeable, you can always delete your cluster. I have this cluster with 3 VMs. Yeah, at least I'm now collating some metrics on the performance of each and every cluster or each and every node on the cluster. So you can see the performance of this node, this one, and this one. But you can alter so many things. You can always, there's so many things you can do with this. Like I said, it's quite very wide, very rich in terms of resources. Like in fact, if you're having a challenge, you can deploy a sample app, you can access your cluster. If you want to learn more on this, maybe Kubernetes, you can just access a cluster kubectl version and create. This is how they have really simplified it in a way you can understand. Yeah, cluster. These are just tags for you. They do not. You can also have a load balancer. So if you know what you're doing with the load balancer, you can always have it also there. Yeah. So when I go back home, you can see on the dashboard. So it will tell me the virtual cloud networks I'm running. It will tell me I'm running one. Namespaces, tag name, it's only one. So you can have, even for the past custom days, you can customize for the number of days. Yeah, you can even create a new dashboard, give it a name. So it's something you can always customize when you have your account. Yeah, I think I'm done on my end. I've created a VM and we've also deployed a cluster.
Okay, so I'm guessing right now it's time for Q&A. For anyone who would like to unmute, you can unmute yourself and ask questions. Maybe raise your hand first, then Dennis will select you, will ask you to unmute. And in the meantime, before anyone asks, Dennis, maybe you can check the chat for any questions asked. Anyone with a question? Okay. I'm going to share the links again for the community. You can scan them to join as you exit the meeting. And thank you for attending as well. Thank you, Dennis, for having us, for taking us through the Oracle Cloud. That was very insightful. Okay.
Okay, I'm still taking questions on if you need any clarification. But the best thing you can always, Oracle have a way you can always use their free services to test you deploy VMs. Actually, if you, I just forgot one part.
Should I stop sharing?
Yeah, just as a add.
Okay.
Yeah, on the Oracle Cloud Calculator. Yeah, you can check on the cloud pricing. So you can see the some actually some VMs are totally free. So you can, depending on the depending on the processor, you can always find you can always see what works well for you. Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the only part pending. And so thank you.
Thank you as well. Okay. Everyone have a nice evening. I just admitted someone and we're ending the meeting. So I was asking everyone to have a nice evening. For the one joining, maybe next time try to come early, unless you were there. So for the moment, we're done. See you, everyone.